Hey, it's Don Skaggs again for Empowered Inventing, where we try to help you help other people by taking innovation, opportunity, mixing that with sound wisdom, and turning them into real things like real products and real businesses that make real money. Where you're not just talking about it, you're actually doing it. Now, today I want to talk to you about 4 ways to get people excited about your product or your idea. So you're ready to go prime time. You've gone through the steps and you've done the right iterations and you have taken the right smart strategy to protect yourself and you're ready to go prime time. You're ready to get out there and show your product and get that feedback and move forward to the next step with your idea. Whether it be a startup, business, licensing, whatever. Now, first thing that you can do to help keep people get excited or prepare yourself to get people excited is to get them familiar with it. But not just the product. They get familiar with the product, but they also become familiar with you. This is a people business. This is you are connecting with people. And as you're connecting with these people, you have to learn how to tell your story. And that's the story of you and your idea and the story of your product, and how those things are connected. And you have to tell this story in a very, very, very compelling way. So one good way of doing that is to get out there and you just start talking to people. And you watch their facial expressions. You watch what lights up their face and what just makes them just gloss over and, I couldn't care less. And you watch those things and you start honing your story, honing the story of your product, honing the story, and find out what really gets those customers excited, those paying customers, potential paying customers, what gets them excited, and you start honing and changing. And I used to do this, of all places in the laboratory. I'd go into the pathology lab and I would talk to the lab tech, and I would have a product and it was new. And so we had sort of a kind of a rough draft, if you will, story crafted. I had one crafted of a product, and I'd come in and I'd start talking about it, and I would watch them. And I would watch how they reacted to certain things. And certain things, I noticed, they just don't care about that at all. I just kind of glossed over and their mind wandered off. But then some, I'd watch their faces light up when I said something else a certain way. And it was like, well, that's what I've been looking for. And again, it's all about solving problems. But you really find that by starting to talk to people and honing that story, just molding it to what is lighting up your customer. So get them familiar with it and do that by telling your story. Now, the other thing you have to do is you have to get your optics right. And when I say optics, I mean what they see when they look at you. And not just at you, not just how you're dressed or who you are or whatever. No, I'm talking about things like your literature. And you go in with sometimes they call it a cut sheet. I always call it a brochure. But just, a piece of paper, a piece of literature that you're showing or you're handing or you're leaving behind. Sometimes I've also heard them called leave behinds. It's kind of an odd word for it, isn't it? But so what does it look like? Does it look professional? Does it look like, or does it look like, you just kind of pasted something together in Word? Now, there's nothing wrong with pasting things together in Word. You can do that and make it look good, but you have to make it look good, and it has to look as good as everybody else's. And you can do that, and you can do that on the cheap, by the way. Those are the things that we teach in some of our classes. Same thing with business cards. Have a good professional business card. Have a good professional email on it. Don't have, hotbaby@123hotmail.com, or just don't have one of those weird personal emails that you put on a business thing. They are not going to take you seriously if you don't have a serious email address. Have your name, have @ and if you can get a domain name for your web that's connected to your website, if you can afford to do that, I strongly suggest doing that because it looks like you are as professional as all the other people they're watching coming through their door. Have a website. And again, it doesn't have to be a $10,000 website. We live in the 21st century now. Websites can be done very, very easily, very, very simply, and very, very cheaply. And again, you have to do it on the cheap, just as long as you have something. I heard somebody say one time that not having a website about your business is like not having your name in the phone book in the 20th century. And I don't know if any of you all remember back in the 20th century, but back in the 20th century, if your name wasn't in the phone book, they couldn't find you. Well, guess what? If you don't have a website, if you don't have a presence on the web, nobody's going to find you. It's the same thing. Also, I strongly recommend some type of really short, very, very descriptive video. Have some kind of video. Video has become a really big tool now, and if you've ever seen some of these videos, I think Cheddar does some now, and they're very, very compelling. They're very short, and they just describe the product. It's kind of like a little demo, little short minute video, and that's all you need sometimes. And it doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be a very expensive thing. You can do it on the cheap, and you can still make it look good. There's ways to do that. And of course, as we always say, have a good demo type. That's where you've already gone through the Franken-type stage, and you've perfected it for functionality as cheap as you possibly could, and now you pretty it up, you gussy it up, as they like to say in the South, and you make it pretty, and you make it presentable, and you have it so you can demonstrate it and show them, answer that one question that every customer wants to know: can you show me how it works? So, get the optics right, get familiar with it, tell your story right, and don't be afraid to talk to people. That's, you know, sometimes I think that's a thing that holds inventors back. I think most of it's fear. And by the way, don't ever let fear drive your decisions in business or in inventing. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Sometimes I think we're afraid what we're going to hear. Sometimes we're just afraid to talk to people just because, you know, we're afraid we're not good enough. But you know, people are just people, and if you talk to people, guess what? They listen, and they'll talk back to you. And there's certain places that you want to be not afraid to talk to people. One of those is shows, trade shows, and I've even heard recently things, you know, small shows, small venues like craft shows. Those are really good places to start, by the way, because you can mess up all you want, and you're not talking to a really huge audience. Now, a bigger audience, but one that you still need to talk to, and you don't need to be afraid to talk to, is the press. You know, an interesting story. Don't buy advertising. Just see if you can get somebody. Hey, you know, you'd be amazed. Local media loves to pick up stories about, hey, you know, this local inventor invented this, and isn't this cool? Isn't this different? They love novel stories like that. So if you find them and can talk to them the right way, you'd be amazed at the exposure, the free advertising you can get. And then, of course, there's potential customers. Don't be afraid. And it sounds like an obvious thing, but still, I have had so many inventors and entrepreneurs, and they get up, they do all this work, and they get ready, and it's time to go out and start talking to customers, especially in the B2B space. And they get all afraid. They put a wall up, and it's like they almost start making up excuses. And again, it's the fear stopping you. Don't let the fear drive what you do. And so, but they put these walls up, and it's fear, and it's holding them from. They're like, oh, well, let me go do this first, or let me go do that first, and they just keep procrastinating, talking to customers. And what happens is then their idea dies on the vine because they have not contacted the one person that's going to change everything, and that's customers that pay you money to buy what you have. Now, last is social media, and I want to include that. Social media is somewhat important, especially in today's age, but don't count on that. Don't rely on social media. Social media is the frosting on the cake, if you will. Again, it's about people. Now, you want the exposure, you want to do that. And you know, we're all over social media, you know, especially here on YouTube. But you know, have that, but don't make that the end all. Don't make that the focus of what you do. And again, lastly, take the feedback that you're getting from all of these connections and all of these people that are excited to help craft your product, to help make it a little better, and improve the look, improve the story, improve the product. Just like I said in the beginning, you're telling your story, but you're getting that feedback and you're helping to craft it in all of these areas. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I'm Don Skaggs. This is Empowered Inventing, and I will look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, class, or on the next video.